Hello everyone, my name is Jeff and I'm a content producer, and today I'm talking with Hector Alzate, who is the video game design and animation teacher at Miami Southridge Senior High School. And today we're going to talk about his esports club, namely what he's teaching, his students' experience, and some things like sportsmanship and mental health in esports. But to begin with, can you tell me a bit about your teaching role at Miami Southridge Senior High School?
Yes, at Miami Senior High, Miami Southridge Senior High. I I teach game design and 3D animation using Maya and um, I forgot the game engine name.
Is it Unity?
Unity. Yes, Unity.
Awesome. Okay. And then, so the big question for a lot of the teachers that have asked is, what does scholastic esports mean to you?
Well, Scholastic Esports is a way, kind of like a portal for students to be able to take that dedication from where they game and be able to apply it to their studies, to be able to apply it to their careers. Because there's nothing more motivated than a gamer that wants to finish a game.
Yeah.
So it's for me it's always been a thing of how come a student can't finish an assignment but give them a controller and give them a game like Dark Souls that is extremely hard and they'll do it.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely agree with you there, though I preferred Sekiro to Dark Souls, but I get the same idea there. um, Now, your principal asked you to take on the esports club in your first year of teaching, correct?
Correct.
So, was that daunting to you? Because that's a big challenge to take on, I would say.
Well, it was actually a couple months after I started teaching.
Okay, so even
Uh,
sooner. That's a lot.
he kind of put the idea out there, and in all honesty, I was kind of excited about it.
Hmm.
Um, I've always wanted to get into esports, but competitively, I'm not very good. I
Hmm.
will admit. But I've always been good at analyzing like the videos from streamers and all of that. So just the opportunity to coach the kids uh, was big for me, and I was already planning to make a video game club as it was.
Hmm. Awesome. So you said like esports has always been attractive to you. What attracts you? Like, what about esports attracts you to it?
Well, in truth, it's the teamwork and being able to have that group of friends that you can play a game, and sometimes you don't even have to tell them what you're going to do in the game, and they're able to respond right away. That teamwork uh, really relates a lot with me. Well, resonates a lot with me
Hmm.
because back in high school, I was actually a jock. I was a football player. I was an athlete, but I was also the biggest nerd of the school. But I know what it's like to have to make this split decisions right away. It takes a lot of trust, takes a lot of knowledge, and a lot of training and dedication. And I wanted to give that to the students as well, especially to students who are not as interested in athletics, but interested in competing.
Hmm. So you think that this is a really great way for them to learn how to build that kind of trust and that innate ability to see a situation and act right away?
Yes, yes, I do,
Awesome.
and I've seen it a few times already.
Okay. In a short time, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Now, as it was, since you did take this on in your first couple months teaching, what were your biggest concerns about taking this on and starting this up?
Well, one of my biggest concerns was how am I going to keep the chaos from erupting? You know,
What kind of chaos are
and
we talking about here?
well, when we were gonna start, I already had a bunch of students that I hadn't met before coming to my room and asking me
Hmm.
about the esports, and I started to realize the amount of students that I was going to be dealing with, and even our first couple of applications was about 150.
That is quite a few. How many students are at the school total?
Uh, I believe, well, I don't exactly have a number. I know we have a bit more than 1,000.
So you've got around 10% of the students in the school wanting to be in this club then.
Definitely, and it was actually a sight to see on the day that all the clubs set up to try to get the students to come into their club. I got a small table, I got a little poster board and a little laptop, and I had two students to try to keep everything in control. I needed more, way more than that. So it was more. It's more than what I expected, and yeah, it was. I was a little scared that I wasn't going to be able to keep things in track.
Now, did you have any concerns regarding like running things like the tournaments and stuff, or are you relying on your students for that help?
I was concerned at first. So what I did is that I got all the kids together. I admitted my lack of knowledge when it comes to the tournaments, to the students. I always try to keep that transparency with them, and a lot of them have been in tournaments before. They're the ones who ran me through it, especially with Super Smash Brothers. Um, they really guided me to how things are supposed to be done,
Hmm.
and even they helped me train them when it came to the game because I've only played it before, but they're the ones that taught me how to start seeing the combos that you can do in it, or when it comes to the rules, what's considered cheating
Hmm.
and what's not. One big example is one thing I did not know is you're supposed to either play paper, scissors, rock or flip a coin to see who chooses the character first.
Hmm.
And once you choose the character, you can't switch because then you'd be countering
Yeah,
whatever the other person.
and that could just go on forever.
Yeah, and it's not fair to the other person. So I did not know that,
Hmm.
and my students taught me that.
Okay, awesome. Sounds like they're potentially teaching you a lot about the scene.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Awesome. And now you run two clubs, correct? The esports club and a gaming club.
Yes, yes, I
So
do.
what are the major differences between the two? Because I feel like for a lot of people they'd be intertwined.
And in a way, they are.
Hmm.
Um, the students in the esports club do participate a lot in the gaming club, but the esports club is more competitive, more technical, um, where the gaming is a little more serious.
Hmm.
Uh, we have a more winning mentality.
Okay.
In the gaming club, we try to build a community where gamers can get together, share ideas. They can also play together. Um, in our school, we are a Title I school, and not every kid has a chance to have a Nintendo or a PlayStation or even a gaming PC.
Hmm.
And in my classroom, we have 30 Alienware computers.
Okay.
So
Nice. Very nice.
yes. So I try to get as many kids as possible to come in, be able to game, something they can't always do.
Hmm.
But at the same time, they have a community where they know they are accepted. And another big thing that I've done with the gaming club that's outside of the esports is I've started to teach some of the students that were interested how to play Dungeons and Dragons
Hmm.
tabletop. Dice, pencils, papers.
You're just trying to teach them math.
Yeah, basically in a fun way. But surprisingly, there's a lot of them that have
Hmm.
loved it, to the point that I had to make a second meeting day per week for Dungeons and Dragons.
Awesome.
And even I even have some of the parents have already gotten involved. One of the parents is one of my dungeon masters,
Nice. I love it.
so he leads the adventure. Um, and he actually got a company to give him a huge box of dice sets, and he just started giving them out to the kids.
That's
It
awesome.
was amazing.
Awesome. So I'm hearing you're teaching a lot of creativity, some hard skills, and a lot of community. What are some of the things, other things you teach in the club? Like, where's like some soft skills you're teaching?
Well, in truth, a lot of them are learning basic computer skills.
Hmm.
Like I said, not all of them have the chance to have a computer, so sometimes they might have an issue with how the game loads or troubleshooting problems when they try to play a game. Um, and they don't know how to get around that.
Okay.
Like sometimes for us, it's simple. We've dealt
Yeah.
with computers all of our lives. It's oh, it's a two-button fix. But for them, they've never done it before. And I even give them a chance that if they're behind on work, they don't always have to game. They can come in, they can do their homework. I have a lot of students that are honors, AP students. They come in, they help each other out, try to keep themselves with their grades up.
Mhm.
And big message that I've given the gaming club and the esports is that gaming, in a political sense, has not always been in a good light.
Yeah. That feels like an understatement.
Yeah. So we want to try to make that a positive, show them that by gaming, we learn.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons I started with the Dungeons and Dragons. It teach a lot of critical thinking,
Yeah.
while playing League of Legends teaches teamwork, and they have to memorize the items. They have to memorize the character skills, even if they don't use the character.
Yeah.
They have to learn to counter it. So it's the same thing as when we go to an office to work and we have, uh, let's say, we have a couple of accounting papers to do. You got to prioritize which assignment is more important to start with, and we've done that when we game. We try to see what mission is more important than another for us to be able to progress. We don't always barrel through a storyline. We go off to the side quests and try to get stronger, or maybe the side quest is not enough. And you've seen that people find places in the game to farm experience points and then hit the story.
Yeah.
So I really want the students to translate everything they learn in gaming and put it into their studies.
Awesome. Very cool. And then what are some of the other roles your students have in your esports club that aren't competitors?
Well, the ones that are not always competing, one of them has done shoutcasting before, so he's our shoutcaster whenever he's not competing. We also have our students who volunteer to be the referees when it comes to tournaments.
Mhm.
We have our treasurer. He's helped out a lot raising money for the club itself, so we can start going to other places to compete or enter other tournaments. They've really stepped up to the plate.
Awesome. And then one thing I've heard from a lot of the teachers I've talked to in Florida is that these esports clubs are a place where these students can really feel at home and feel like they have a community and where they can blow off some steam. Why do you think that is such a large theme that I'm seeing?
Well, gaming as it has evolved, we used to be on the couch, get our friends to the house, socialize, and play. Gaming has evolved into more of an online uh, platform.
Hmm.
So we don't always have anybody around us. We know gamers can be in front of a computer for 8 hours and not talk to anybody. And that type of isolation is not good. And even in schools or in the community, gamers any age get ridiculed for still playing video games.
Hmm.
I know us as adults, we are constantly told, "Hey, you still watch cartoons? You still play video games?" Yes,
And I'm like,
yes, we
yeah, there's what of it?
do. So when you have a club, you have a place where they can all gather and get together and meet. And I've actually seen how that community has helped each other through this crisis that we're going through, this quarantine. All the friends that they made in the club, they've been playing together games, they've been keeping themselves entertained. Um, Even my gaming club, the sister of one of my students who goes to the school I graduated from, Full Sail University, she's she was able to get me a Minecraft server
Hmm.
that can hold about 60 to 100 students, and we just put it out there and we modded it. We made it this whole adventure that they can play, uh, just so they have something to do, and it's kind of in a safe place where well, a safe place where they're not going to be meeting strangers or talking to strangers. No, they're talking to that community they built in the school.
Awesome. And then you mentioned it a little bit there, and to me before we started this conversation, that this is also really helpful for your students' mental health, and it's contributing to that a lot. Can you talk more about that?
Yes, so I have always believed, even before became a teacher, and before this pandemic, we have had a bit of a pandemic of mental health, and it's something to focus on, especially in this quarantine, where students are distressed. And as adults, we can deal with it. We've had our experiences,
Hmm.
but the students have not, and we really need to keep an eye on them. We don't know when one of them is left behind. We don't know, like, really. I often think of them just because of that. We don't know what's going on at home.
Hmm.
So if they can have a place where they can blow off some steam, that helps. And one thing I learned in athletics is one good way to let out the steam was to work out. Or uh, I practice martial arts. I go out and I start hitting the punching bag,
Hmm.
or I grab my lightsaber and I start swinging it about. I'm a huge nerd, I know.
We all are. Don't worry about it.
But they a lot of them don't have that,
Hmm.
or they're not interested in working out or anything like that. So gaming is how they blow off steam, their outlet. And what I'm hoping is that it helps them have a peace of mind.
Okay. No, it's definitely a good goal. And still on the same lines, like overall in esports, we're seeing mental health become a much bigger focus these days and a larger part of the conversation. What are your thoughts on how players and even those who like support staff of esports, because they work long hours too, can maintain proper mental health? And how do we make sure that we have this kind of support system for esports students and athletes?
Well, for one thing that I have researched on my own for my competitors is there is exercise, not like lifting weights or anything, but
Hmm.
right before you game, you have to do your stretches, your wrists, your thumbs,
Hmm.
and that blood circulation helps the person relax. I've also taught my students some breathing techniques, especially when they're gaming, when everything's down to the wire and you're starting to let the adrenaline take over. And gaming's more about precision, to teach them to be more calm. And I'm hoping they can translate that to anything else that they do whenever they feel nervous. Um, and really, gaming teaches a lot of hand-eye coordination
Hmm.
and a lot of focus. So I'm hoping that really helps with, students that get distracted easily, or they're more nervous about something else, or maybe it gets any thought out of their head, just so they can focus on the game for a while.
All right, cool. And then I want to move on a little bit to sportsmanship because you said you're you're teaching your students a lot about sportsmanship in esports. Can you give me some examples of that?
Yes, actually, it was during our Super Smash Brothers tournament. I actually stood in front of all the competitors to talk to them about sportsmanship and proper etiquette when it comes to gaming. Uh, Once again, one of the things that I want to accomplish with my students is for gaming to be in a better light politically. And to be able to start that is to show that even when we lose, we can lose with grace.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, get up, shake your opponent's hand, wish them the best, and move on from the loss while still learning from it. Um, One thing that I do not condone is people who throw their controllers or throw a fit or call other people names. There's really no justification for that. You gotta be a good player, not just in the game, but as a person.
Okay, and then while you had the opportunity there to do it when you're in person, and games like Smash Brothers, they are always in person because that's how the scene works. But why is it important to have that type of sportsmanship when you can't see your opponent?
That is more important. I feel that those that do feel like they get away with it because they are online, but you never know. For example, a game like League of Legends, you never know if the person you are competing against later on is going to be one of your teammates. And that happened to a friend of mine personally. Uh, and I'll never forget this. He was playing, he was talking a lot of trash to another player on the other team. And immediately after that game, he went into a game, and his teammate was that guy, along with his three other friends in a ranked game.
Oh boy.
And they were like, "Look, we don't like you." And when they got into the game, they all disconnected.
Oh.
So he was left with the other random person to fight another five people.
Yeah.
So in a sense, you never know who the person on the other side is. You need to put yourself in the other person's shoes and really treat others the way you would like to be treated, whether it's online, whether it's in person. And like I said, you never know who's on the other side. Heck,
Yeah.
I could be playing a video game talking trash, and then all of a sudden the person on the other side is my boss at work. I don't know if my principal plays League of Legends. He might. So I know he's been wanting to play Super Smash Brothers. So yeah,
just
it's very involved.
just coming to work the next day. So about that game last night. It's like, what game?
I don't know. I don't know who that guy is. Never seen him in my life. Disconnect from all accounts on the phone.
There you go. No, I think that's definitely a really good point, and it ultimately punishes yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Um, now, um, the world is kind of in a crazy state right now, as we all know. But how is your esports program and programs like yours preparing students for their futures?
Well, aside from everything we've been teaching them, um, there is a lot of technical work that's done in esports. Video editing. A lot of my students are certifying in Photoshop,
Okay.
and I'm hoping next year we're going to certify them in Adobe Premiere. A lot of those students are actually my game design and animation students. So on top of that, they've been teaching in the club how to work Maya and Unity. I had two students that entered an FELA competition where they made their own side scroller game,
Okay.
and that's taking a couple steps forward to be in the industry. Some of these students might be able to, after their fourth year in our school, to be able to just go into the industry itself directly.
Hmm.
Um, Especially because we are working a lot with Miami Magic, which is a public college that teaches game animation and game design, and they're doing dual enrollment there. So they're able to graduate with their associates.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to push a lot of my students in the gaming club that are not in my class to do the same, to dual enrollment, be able to push themselves. Um, it's all about motivation. For me, it really is motivation. If you don't have the drive to move forward, no matter what knowledge you have, you don't move. It's always been the argument of talent versus hard work.
Mm-hmm.
Someone could be very talented in one thing, but if they don't use it, what's the point? But somebody that works hard towards that goal will always surpass those with talent. And if you have the talent and you work hard, you are succeeding far more.
You're gonna excel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then, how do you see your esports program evolving in the future?
So far, I see it getting bigger. We're gonna have more teams. Um,
More
we
teams
are
for
going
more
to
games?
for more games. Yes.
Okay.
Um,
What games are you gonna looking to plan on supporting?
well, we are actually hoping to be able to participate in the Overwatch community.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, here in Florida, we had a couple of tragedies with school shootings, so we did not believe it was prudent to join any first-person shooter games.
Hmm.
We're hoping to be able to join that in the coming year. Overwatch is very popular at the school where I teach, more popular than Smash Brothers and League of Legends.
Okay.
We're hoping to be able to make about 2 to 3 teams from that, and there's going to be a second gaming teacher that is going to join and hopefully support myself on that venture.
Hmm.
But a lot of the parents have been very, very supportive of the program, of the clubs. So I'm hoping if that continues, we can make our community much bigger, uh, get many more connections, and you never know. But I all I see is that the path to this is constantly going up into better places.
Awesome. And then what advice would you give students looking to get a program like yours at their school?
Well, I suggest they talk to their teachers. Try to. You never know if a teacher is a gamer. They might be,
Hmm.
and even if they're not, maybe they're curious. Educate them about gaming, about the possibilities. That gaming is not just about the game itself, but that you can lead it to careers. We have streamers that's all they do.
They make millions. I mean,
Exactly. And in truth, patience. Talk to the administration. There's a lot of communication that happens when you're creating one of these clubs, and
okay.
always try to think positive.
Awesome. Great advice. And then the last thing I want to ask you is what's been the most rewarding part of this experience for you?
Man, I couldn't even pinpoint one, just because there's so many experiences I've had with the students themselves in this club. Um, I feel that I've grown a lot as a person with them.
Hmm.
Uh, but if I had to choose one memory, it has to be when we were going to the FTC um, tournament, and there was this whole event that we were going to. But this memory was not at the event. We were in the bus, and everybody's there, and we all look around. And as the bus starts driving, we all pull out the Nintendo Switch, and we start to play all the way across. And I can actually feel that connection with them. Like it felt like I was there with my friends, like I said before,
Hmm.
sitting on the couch playing video games, and nobody's arguing about losing, nobody's being negative about it, everybody's having fun. It really felt like I created that community that I was looking forward to making. And from then on, they've just succeeded. Uh, they've been winning competitions. They've gotten very far in tournaments. They've been gracious even when they lose. So they take every one of my lessons and they apply it. So anytime I see that, you know, I'm very proud and very happy of them. But people ask my wife and I, "Oh, do you guys have any kids?" I tell them, "Yes, I have over 100 of them."
And then they look at you like you're crazy, and then you're like, no, 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 these are my students.
Exactly. Or when I'm talking about my students, I always say my kids.
Hmm.
And one of my friends told me, "You mean your students?" I'm like, "Yeah, my kids."
Well, that's very nice to see the passion coming from you and for your program. And that's all I have for you today. So I want to thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me about this. It's been very educational for me and hopefully for our viewers also. For all of you out there, stay tuned. We've got a few more interviews with Florida teachers about their esports programs coming up. Until then, stay safe, everyone. Thanks.
Take care.